Hello, all. Thank you so much for coming to learn more about bees and how we can conserve them locally and globally. I'm Skylar Robertson, and I would like to introduce my fellow researchers Andrew Abernathy, Tiara Stubbs, William Carpenter, and Rihanna Panett.
What is your favorite snack? Think about it. Some of the snacks we eat today need to be pollinated. Snacks like sunflower seeds and oranges need to be pollinated so they can grow. And this goes for many of the foods we eat in our daily lives. There is one creature mainly responsible for pollination, and that is the honeybee. The honeybee provides pollination for 90% of the world's leading global crops, the crops that feed the whole world. The bee industry is worth $15 billion and is so massive that it is used all over the world. Honeybees are an important part of our ecosystem, and wild honeybees make up for the majority of bees, and they are currently facing danger. Wild honeybees are facing danger from bees kept by beekeepers, known as managed bees, which can cause harm and confusion to wild bees. Pesticides and chemicals that we spray on our crops are hurting the wild bees, causing them to die, become confused, and lost. The creatures that provide 90% of our food are dying. 90% of our crops they pollinate so we can eat, and they are currently suffering and dying.
So, what really is the difference between wild bees and managed bees? Wild bees are free, native to their region, good for agriculture, and natural ecosystems. They keep diversity and plant life. Without them, we wouldn't have a lot of our crops, such as apples, cranberries, or flowers. Managed bees are commercially introduced into their non-native region. They are good for agriculture because they can do mass production of crops but are carriers of pathogens and pesticides. The commercial pollination routes show you where commercial bees are taken to and are circulated through the entire United States of America. They are everywhere, so they can spread the pathogens and pesticides easily because they are distributed in such wide reaching areas. Thank you.
Hello, my name is William Carpenter, and I will be discussing parasitic infections and pathogens amongst bee populations. To start off with, parasitic infections. Right now, there are over 1 million commercial bees worldwide. Of that number, 77% carry a parasitic infection. These infections are spread to wild bees through something called shared flower pollination. Shared flower pollination occurs when a commercial bee lands on one flower, the disease is left there, and then a wild bee comes along and picks up said disease and carries it back to the colony. When infected, we've found that there is a 35% chance of survival within 15 days of infection. Moving on to pathogens. Pathogens occur during mass shipping and shipping fever of large groups of bees. Now, one of the more common pathogens spread amongst honeybees, to be specific, is DWV, or deformed wing virus. This causes the wings of bees to become damaged, misshapen, or distorted, preventing the bee from flying and therefore eating and therefore killing the bee.
As we have seen, there are many contributing factors to the loss of wild bee populations. Many of these issues are involved with the use of managed bees. Another problem that leads to the loss of wild bee populations is the use of neonicotinoids. Neonicotinoids contribute to a quarter of the world's pesticide market, and they are valued at over $3 billion a year. Although they are supposed to be managed at sublethal doses, they still produce memory and cognition issues within a bee. This means that the bee can become confused, lost, and cannot find a food source. Furthermore, it can also mean that the bee cannot find its way back to the hive in many situations. Whether directly or indirectly, neonicotinoids can definitely contribute to colony collapse disorder. As you can see in this graphic, there are different chemical makeups of the different types of neonicotinoids. However, they are pretty similar. Neonicotinoids are the most common form of pesticide used. Although they are banned in the European Union, they are still very popular in the US and other countries. Neonicotinoids can accumulate in the soil for many years. If they're exposed to sunlight, they do fade faster. However, they can accumulate in the soil, and also there's been shown that there are traces of neonicotinoids in the crops that are treated with them. They can cause issues within the environment, within bee populations, and other insect populations. So this is a lot of information in one picture, but we're just going to focus on a few issues that contribute to colony collapse disorder. Colony collapse disorder, or syndrome, means that a healthy hive is around 10,000 or 20,000 bees. And when a lot of contributing factors go into this colony collapse disorder, it means that a healthy hive can go from 10 to 20,000 bees to only 1,000. The queen is the main source of all the bees in the hive. So already it is kind of hard that one bee is only populating the entire hive. And other bees are the nursemaid bees or drones or worker bees. So as you can see, there are many things that we have already talked about in this graphic. In the bottom left, you can see different fungi, parasites, and other things that contribute to the loss of wild bee populations. In the top right, you can see how the use of managed bees contributes to wild bee population decrease. And in the top left, you can see how many pesticides cause major issues within populations. One thing we haven't talked about is the use of planting flowers at different times, so that throughout the year there are flowers for bees to pollinate, different types of flowers such as dandelions or Johnny Jump Ups or whatever, so that as through the season continues and the year continues, there are flowers for the bee to pollinate year round. This can greatly help bees in many situations because it means that they have a food source and a way to pollinate and create the wonderful foods that we all enjoy. Next up is Rihanna, and she will tell us some of the ways that we can help the loss of wild bee populations.
Okay, so natural areas for bees to use as habitats are critical to their conservation. Today, remnants of forest still provide suitable habitats for wild bees to colonize in, and therefore the promotion of using trees for hives, would foster the growth of local wild swarms of bees. Also, planting more flowers would give bees more opportunities for pollination and to eat. Lastly, we must set aside different pieces of land for different uses, meaning a mixed landscape. This would mean that there would be separate pieces of land for simple wild bees, a place for bees in man-made hives, and places for flowers and the like. So, the everyday person can help save bees from pesticides in a variety of ways. Um, One way is to grow bee friendly plants, planting flowers in your yard or ensuring that flowers remain in your yard for a little while in the spring means that bees will have more opportunities to pollinate and eat. Flowers and bees have a relationship much like we do to bees. Without flowers, bees can't eat and bees can't live, and without bees, we can't live. Another way that a person can help save bees from pesticides is to use traditional beekeeping techniques without the use of pesticides to breed wild swarms. Lastly, there is a great need for the institution of local education programs that teach about the importance of local wild bees.
Thank you all for being a great audience. We would like to thank Accelerated Research Opportunities, Living Learning Community, the Office of Undergrad Research and Scholarships, and of course, Dr. Wargo. We would be happy to answer any questions about saving local and global wild bee populations. Thank you.